don't see how Michigan, until they get to Ohio State, probably won't go undefeated. But I think they play Hawaii and Connecticut and Colorado State. And I don't have the book in front of me, but I had looked at their schedule, excuse me, earlier. And I think they're going to go undefeated until they get to Ohio State. Ohio State's schedule, I don't know who said Ohio State got a weak schedule this year, but I was like, wow, with Notre Dame, Wisconsin, Michigan, and a couple other teams up there, I think they have one of the hardest schedules along with Notre Dame this coming up year.
They said that on the SEC network.
Yeah. So I really think they were. I think Michigan's gonna go undefeated till they get to Ohio State. I really don't see anybody beating them. I mean, I was always a tricky game on the road. Indiana is not what we thought they were going to be. Illinois, I don't think they're there yet. I mean, I know they got a very good coach, but I don't think that they're going to. I think they're going to be undefeated until they get to Ohio State. To be honest with you, I think they're going to have a pretty good year. And you know how much I hate Michigan. I really do.
Well, we're talking about Michigan, DeAndre, because Jim Harbaugh was at Big Ten Media Days on Tuesday, and he said they have 4 goals: beat Michigan State, beat Ohio State, win the Big Ten championship, win the national championship. That's what Harbaugh said.
Yeah. Well, I think they can do it. I mean, Penn State's pretty good, too. I think they got a bye before that. I looked at their schedule because I did a video on it. But I was going to say something about the last time we talked. There are 2 things I want to address. When the guy said that people don't know NIL, we do know where NIL started at. It started because of the video games. Ed O'Bannon suing because likeness in a game. So, yeah, I do know it. But what I was saying was, let's say Rice, for example. Let's say all of a sudden they start getting 5-star players. We know 5-star players should be going to Rice, right? So, and I'm saying is, a lot of times that people with a lot of money will guide kids to that certain school, and that's why they went there. Just like Quentin Euros. Like, he went to Ohio State because Texas wouldn't allow high school kids to play. So he went over to Ohio State, am I correct?
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying. It's not the fact that it's not through the school, but those donors are going to say, hey, if you go to this particular school, I will help you out and put you in this NIL deal. Look at Miami right now. I'm not saying Miami hasn't always been good at recruiting, but look at what they're doing right now. They're recruiting like crazy. I mean, they got a top 7 class. They get defensive linemen that you usually see going to Georgia and Alabama. So, the next question I got for you, we talked about money, and you brought up the cupcake. And you get $1 million to 300,000. So I wanted to point out 2 factors. Over the last 5 years, you would say Texas makes more money than Wake Forest, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So Wake Forest over the last 5 years, I'm not talking about history-wise, probably has a similar or better record than Texas. Am I correct?
Better.
Okay. So I would just use that as an example. And what I say that is, McDonald's is a company all over the world. But we can go. I'll come visit you in Connecticut and say, Mark, I bet you could take me to about 10 places better than McDonald's, who's nationwide. And that was my point about people saying, like, the Big Ten and the SEC going to be making all this money. It's going to leave the ACC behind. But like I said, you look at some of the recruiting going on right now. Clemson and Louisville, UNC last year, and Miami are still recruiting at a high level.
So, DeAndre, I'm not disagreeing with you. What I'm disagreeing with is this. Let's say it this way. Let's say all the conferences made an agreement and said, we are not realigning, expanding, poaching from each other. We're staying exactly the way we are.
Right.
Okay. And let's say the ACC continued to cut bad TV deals for whatever reason, and their teams were making $35 million in revenue for the next 15 years, while the Big Ten and the SEC teams were getting $100+ million. Okay. Right. So Clemson, Florida State, all those schools that you just mentioned, in the ACC would be at a disadvantage. But we both know that some people do really good at working with a little bit of money, and some people blow a lot of money. So it's not all just about money. You're absolutely right. There's all sorts of, just even beyond the head coach to the athletic director to the actual administration, being very smart and very frugal, being very specific, being very forward thinking in their planning, just doing a lot of things that surpasses money. Yes, money doesn't cure everything. So yes, there is a world in which Clemson, Florida State, Miami, fill in the blank, whomever, could continue to out-recruit, outplay, and do all those things with a much smaller TV cut than Texas and other teams from other conferences. The point that I'm making is that those schools, Clemson, Florida State, Miami, whomever, that have the ability to jump to another conference because they're attractive, would make that jump most likely if they can make 3 times as much money in television revenue every year.
But I agree with you on that. But what attracts kids or people is winning. So why would I go to a harder conference? You see what I'm saying? I know we're going to disagree on this next statement. But let's take Wisconsin, Nebraska. Let's put them on the football field and put Duke and Wake Forest at the same time. Yeah, Wisconsin and Nebraska, when it comes to football, is a bigger brand. But I bet you more people will find Wake Forest and Duke a more entertaining game than Wisconsin and Nebraska. Would you disagree with that argument?
I wouldn't necessarily, but I'm not the average fan.
Yeah, but I'm talking about a random person.
Because the final score is going to be 48-45 and not 17-14.
Yeah, or what game was that? I think it was Iowa was playing somebody to score like 12-0. Like, those night games at Iowa, don't get me wrong. When you have a night game at Iowa and it's on ABC, you're looking for the upset. I mean, they beat Michigan, Penn State, all those. But however,
Ohio State,
most kids today want to see up and down football. Don't get me wrong. Big Ten used to have that reputation of being big and slow. Then Ohio State's is not that anymore. Kids want to play with what Ohio State does. And more of those teams play like Ohio State down in the South now compared to up in the North. And, like I said, they go. NFL can find you anywhere now. I mean, I think Lenore Ryan had a guy go in the second round a couple years ago to the Patriots. Fayetteville State University just had a person go in the third round to Kansas City. The NFL go find you. The purpose of these kids, yes, is supposedly get an education, but we know they want to make it to the NFL. So I'm saying the NFL go find you. So eventually this bubble's going to pop. And I'm going to let you go after this. But I was looking at your Clemson video. I think you were talking about how Clemson might lose to Notre Dame this year. And that's not the point I want to make, but I would like to point this out. Clemson does have a bye after between Notre Dame, and Notre Dame has a game. So that might help Clemson out. But I would like to point this out, though. Everybody talks about Clemson losing the state. I didn't know this. Will Shipley didn't play that game, and neither did Pay. Clemson lost a lot of transfers at the running back position.
Will Shipley didn't play what game?
Shipley, he got hurt during the state game, midway.
Oh, the NC State game. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I was thinking about that. I mean, I'm not saying you don't know what would have happened. He could have did like he did in the Pitt game and missed a wide open reception for a touchdown. That still kills me. But I would have said a lot of times, I went back and looked at Wake Forest versus NC State. And I know NC State had an offensive lineman taken by Carolina in the first round. But if you go back and look at that Wake Forest game, they had a lot of trouble blocking people too. So I can't wait to see it. But I think Clemson, I don't know if Clemson's going to lose to Notre Dame, but I think Clemson's set up for having a good year. And the receivers that they have, they got a lot of faster, quicker receivers in the slot this year compared to what they had with Rowe. I think Will Taylor is going to play a big portion into what Clemson does this year. Him and Tony Saloa, however you say his name, and it's going to help those slot receivers. I think the tight end is too. But hey, Mark, you have a good day, man.
I'm going to make one other comment, DeAndre, if I can keep you on the line for one more second. Maybe I can convince you a little bit more on this conference realignment with one more point.
Okay.
The football people aren't making the decisions, though. The football has a lot to do with the decision, but the football people aren't making the decision. So if the Clemson administration, for example, sees that over a 10-year span, we're going to make $350 million in television revenue, but if we go to the Big Ten, we're going to make $1 billion in television revenue, 100 million times 10, then that's most likely going to be the decision that's going to be made.
Can I say something to rebuttal to that?
Sure.
Okay, the guy that you had on, the football money, we look at it from a football point of view.
Yeah.
But the guy said that what they making football, all schools, is really just a drop in the bucket outside of places like Alabama and Kansas State and Oklahoma State, like Dallas, Stanford. I don't know what Clemson's known for technology, agriculture. But what I'm saying is, if it's about research and all of that, why would you care as long as your football team is with it? Because for what he explained is, like USC going over to Rutgers to play, the reason why that would be attractive because they can have their meetings to attract the best minds, and those are the ones that make the money for the school. So I'm just saying, I get what you're saying, but I really see, like, let's say Texas A&M played at the SEC at the ACC. They probably would have more national championships than what they have right now. Texas A&M would have. Because they would have better talent than everybody but Clemson. You know what I'm saying? The Texas A&M to me hurt themselves by going to the SEC. I know their program probably made more money, but they had to go against Alabama, LSU, Auburn, sometimes Ole Miss, and then you had to draw Georgia or Florida. So you made yourself harder than what it was. And they would have stayed in that Big 12, who would you have to deal with? Texas on the downturn and Oklahoma? Maybe Baylor every now and then? You would have been in a better position than me to win a national championship. I mean, their program still brings in a whole lot of money, but still, I'm just saying.